So what makes social media so appealing? Good morning, All Souls Community Church. Today is Thursday, the 25th, and this week we're talking all about what it means to follow Jesus. We just started a brand new sermon series through the season of Lent, where we are diving into this notion of actually being a follower, not just being a Christian in name only, but following Jesus with our actions. What does that look like? And we've been using the lens of social media, the language of social media, the different ways that you interact on social media as a way to unpack what it means to follow Jesus. But part of the conversation we've been having behind the scenes that I brought Tommy in to help with this morning is this notion of what makes social media so appealing. And so Tommy, who is our youth and young adult director here at All Souls, is someone who's done a lot of reading about this, someone who himself is a millennial, although he looks much older, who swims in these waters. And so I thought it would be great to just hear from him. So Tommy, what is it about social media that makes it so appealing?
There's a lot of obvious benefits that I think that when you first think about social media comes to mind. The access and the ability to communicate with anybody anywhere around the globe, right? Which is just another phase, another facet of what technology has done for us, right? Like, it's great to be able to follow up with high school friends or to keep in touch with that one person I met on a mission trip, right? Social media gives us that ability to do that. And in a large sense, that is a good ability to have that. But another particular way that we see social media being used, especially for our younger generations, is something to use to self-define and to self-express, right? Social media, if you think of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, anything like that, is essentially just a bio of who you are, what you like, what you dislike, what you want the world to know about you, what you stand up for, what you stand against. We could say a bunch of different things down that list, but it's something that is created specifically, right? The developers of these things give you all the tools, all the knowledge, everything you need to create who you want to be and how you want to be perceived by the world, right? Spend 10, 15 minutes on any teenager's social media. It is meticulously crafted. The way they say things, what is in their bio, what is not in their bio, right? It's all on purpose. None of it is an accident, because at its core, social media lets us be and express who we think we should be, who we think we want to be, or who we think will be well received and well liked.
It's interesting because you're really playing off of this notion that of a virtual reality, right? Like, social media creates space where we all agree that we get to create a reality that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah. As a kid, growing up in the generation most influenced by video games, the appeal of playing video games, whether it be by myself or with a bunch of total strangers or with a bunch of my friends, was not only that I got to escape and kind of put my problems or my struggles or anything like that down for a second. It's I got to dive into a whole new world and to experience a second life, essentially, a second reality where depending on the game and depending on all that kind of nuance, I could be who I wanted to be. I could do what I wanted to do. There was no repercussion. There was no responsibility, right? Like, I remember having a conversation with my mom where she, as a young teenager, she didn't like when I played certain games because I could just go around killing people, right? And that wasn't great. And thank God it didn't have any kind of like long-term effect on me. But in hindsight, I can understand how the so-called freedom to just do a morally reprehensible and completely illegal act ad nauseum and then just put it down, walk away from it, and not struggle and not wrestle with actually what I just did. I mean, that is the trap of living a second life, of living a second world. I get to be who I want, I get to do what I want, and it's not connected to real world. It's not connected to anything that actually costs me anything. It's not connected to who I am and who I should be or who I want to be. Because I can just put that down at any point. I can turn off the video game, I can turn off the TV, I can close my phone, and that's it. It has no effect.
So we interact with this virtual reality world, the social media world, as if it doesn't have an impact on us, and it does, right?
Yeah.
And I think what I hear, part of what you're saying is there's an appeal one of the reasons why it's so appealing to enter into this world is because you get to create like an avatar of yourself, of whoever you want to be and of the world you want to live in. And so if you want to have big muscles, or if you want to have long hair, if you want to be this today and that tomorrow, you have the freedom to do that. And in fact, there's this principle underneath, right, that you've been talking about of this freedom of self-expression. That is kind of this universal principle of, hey, we all agree that we get to be whoever we want, and no one should be able to kind of speak against that. I think that's so profound because it gives us the opportunity to really see what's driving our hearts. Like, why is this so appealing? Well, because we get to play creator, right? We get to play this role of, I'm in control, I get to create this world. Tommy, you were telling me about a particular YouTube guy that is creating a world. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So if you have kids or you know any kids who love to be on YouTube, by now we know that being a YouTuber, somebody who creates content on YouTube for other people to digest, whatever that content may be, is a whole profession and lifestyle in and of itself now. As foreign as a thought that may be to maybe some older generations, that is something that young adults and teenagers all the way down to kids aspire to be. They look to these people, they're the new celebrities. So there's one YouTuber in particular whose name is Dream, as if you're having a dream. And he has taken a very popular video game called Minecraft that would be well known to anybody my age and younger. And Minecraft, at its very core, essentially lets you build whatever you want. Think Legos, but it exists in a computer. That's all it is. You can build whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, right? It is a unending Lego set. And so what this YouTuber Dream has done is he has created his own world. Literally, he's created his own countries, continents, languages, people groups, traditions, history, lore, you name it, he has built it. And he has invited his friends, other famous YouTubers, people who he grew up with, people he just happens to like. He has invited them to come play and live in this world with him. And if that doesn't sound crazy enough, he has then taken that and he live streams it, right? He uses technology and cameras and everything we have accessible nowadays, just like we live stream our church services on Sunday morning. He live streams him playing this game and the people playing this game with him in his world to millions.
Wow.
Not hundreds, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions of people, mostly in my demographic, who watch him endlessly, hours upon hours, just live a life that he has built for himself and live a life that other people have built for themselves, totally detached from reality, totally detached from responsibility, totally detached from anything that says your self-expression, your self-definition might actually be harmful, that this strain of thought that you're buying into is actually detaching you and leading you down a road that at the very least is just awful, but at the very worst is far removed from what Jesus calls us to, right? And this is a large example. This guy Dream and his world is a large example of this happening, but it's happening hundreds of thousands of times over with people who are just like that. People who live stream all different sorts of things or do tutorials about how to do these things, right? The art of escaping and the art of self-definition is a business now, unfortunately. And it's a pervasive lie.
Yeah, well, isn't it ironic that this guy's name would be Dream?
Yeah.
Right, that he's welcoming everyone into this dream, this virtual reality that that people get to kind of escape reality with him in, and how that's so appealing. Millions of people watching this guy and his buddies live in a fake world, a world that does not exist, a world that is only in his dreams. And yet, what appeals to us about that, what appeals to the younger generation, but honestly to all of us about that, is we get to play God there. And not only do we get to play God, but we get to have the entire world encourage us that that's right. That is our right. The freedom, and I'm going to use a different word, the cult of self-expression. It's been ingrained in us from our earliest days on this planet. It was what Adam and Eve fell into. It's what all of us fall into. And I think it's worth us taking time to actually unpack that, to see, because there are plenty of positives, like Tommy talked about social media, about connecting and seeing friends and sharing information. But the appeal, the reason why we get addicted to it, why we spend hours and hours and hours on it, is because it gives us this escape and this justification for our hearts to say, I'm going to create a world that I'm comfortable with, a world where I'm in the center of it all, a world where everyone watches me, selfie, 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 right?
Yeah.
And yet, what does that world ultimately do in your life? Big picture, that world doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And yet, when you enter into it and you let your heart go there, what it does to your heart is it corrupts our hearts. It sends us down a path of that's very hard to return from, a path of self-worship.
Yeah.
And so, man, Tommy, it's so good to have you on here this morning. It's so good to hear your perspective. We're going to do this again as we continue to unpack this. But I hope for all of you that this was encouraging, but also eye-opening for yourselves, but also for those who are younger. And let's commit today to pray for our teens and our young adults. Let's commit all week to pray for them, because this is such a big thing. The pressure, I feel it on my heart and on my shoulders as I come into prayer for specifically our soul youth and my own kids. It's like this is a big thing, and we don't want them to have to try to navigate these waters alone. And for that reason, we're really blessed and happy to have Tommy and Michelle here, and just grateful for you guys. So,
Amen to that.
all right, guys, have a great day. Thanks for listening. Take care.
Bye all.